Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 8 deal breakers. So I came up with this list. I really thought about relationships and some of the biggest deal breakers in relationships and things to look for whether or not you're going to be able to be compatible with somebody based on your ideas of certain things in relationships. And the reason I want to talk about deal breakers is because you should know what your own personal deal breakers are before you even start dating someone. That way, if you know that they have some deal breakers, you don't even bother going on dates with them because it's just going to prolong it and it's not going to go anywhere anyway. So I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I find to be the most common deal breakers. Now, in a recent video, I talked about relationship deal breakers, and I wanted to do a quick update on that video. If you haven't seen that video, it was about a woman who had just broken up with her boyfriend. They'd been together about a year, but he has substance abuse issues. He smokes weed 3 times a day. He drinks heavily, those are her words, heavily outside of social functions and social settings. And one of the key things to look for when someone has a substance issue is it interfering with their functioning in life? In that particular example, it was. If you want to hear more about that one after this video, check out the video Relationship Deal Breakers to get that entire story. So, this is a follow-up email from that email. She writes back, I just watched Choosing a Good Partner, and I can see all of the issues my ex has at the moment are not signs of being emotionally healthy. She says, you're right, that my ex's behavior is a deal breaker, and something I needed to be firm about. However, I still can't help myself dwelling on and feeling guilty about the part that I played in damaging our relationship too. For example, I also watched the attachment style video. She's been keeping up on the videos. I think my attachment style would be mildly anxious. While I wouldn't say I was clingy or jealous, my reaction to his lifestyle certainly mirrored the example you gave about the husband who is too late to cook for his wife dinner. In fact, it almost made me laugh because it sounded so familiar. Now, I like that you're really trying to own up to this behavior, but while there's no doubt for me that your attachment style affected your behavior in the relationship, the bottom line is that you were dating somebody who has a substance abuse issue. And your behavior did not influence his using the substances because, as you mentioned, he told you he was using substances as a coping skill long before you came into the picture. So, let me just go on a little bit. There's a little bit more to this email. She says, towards the end of our relationship, I started to get upset, moan, nag, and criticize if I felt his smoking or drinking interfered in our relationship, in even very small ways. While I accept that I had every right to bring up the issue in general, I think the manner in which I did so wasn't helpful and pushed him away. It's good to have this insight. Well, I think in your situation, no matter how you bring it up, he wasn't going to stop. And the only reason someone quits a substance is because they want to. And you can't make them. I want you to let go of the guilt that I think you have about this, because it's not going to change his desire to stop. So she finally finished this email up. she says, I do find that I am wanting to do irrational things like contact him and apologize more for the part I played and even tell him I could change if he did too. However, I'm going to stick to your advice and keep doing no contact. I know that unfortunately right now this is just something I have to work on and learn from for the future. Yeah, you're in a tough situation because, like you were saying, the guy you were dating in a lot of ways was great. I think that you were in some denial about the severity of the issue, but the bottom line is he's got to deal with the substance issue before he can really be in any good, healthy relationship. And you're looking for long-term, something where you'd want to have kids, and you just don't want to be dealing with a substance abuse issue when you're pregnant and you've got another one coming, or you've got a kid and you've got another one coming, whatever. I also think you were looking for excuses to contact him. My guess is that you are hoping that he will tell you he loves you enough to change. That's understandable. We all do a lot of irrational things when it comes to love, but it's just gotta come from him. Keep doing no contact with you. If he does want to work it out with you, make sure he gets into some kind of substance abuse program first. Don't be fooled by promises. A lot of times, somebody will promise you, then you take them back, and then they never follow through. So, now, I'd like to get into the 8 deal breakers that I came up with that I feel are the most common deal breakers. If I miss any, share yours in the comments below. I'd like to read them and see what you guys have to think. These are the top ones that I've come up with. Obviously, substance abuse. We just talked about it. If someone is using substances and it's interfering with their life, they have an issue. The addiction will always come before anything else. Even their own well-being, your well-being, your kids' well-being, addiction will come first. Now, also, you might want to consider smoking and chewing tobacco. A lot of people get really turned on or turned off by that and don't want to date somebody that's using those things. Know that from the get-go. I know personally, I can't date a smoker. I hate the smell of it. I hate kissing a girl and tasting it. I can't do it. I won't do it. So I know it's a deal breaker. Any kind of abuse, physical or emotional, completely unacceptable. Do not stay with anybody if they are emotionally or physically abusing you. Move on. I know it's not easy, but really you have to do it. That is a major deal breaker. One of the most important parts of a relationship is safety. Physical safety, emotional safety. If there's not physical and emotional safety, get out. Get out. I can't stress that enough. Alright. Health issues, or STDs. You need to decide from the beginning if you're going to be willing to deal with somebody who has serious health issues. It's going to affect them. It's going to affect their mood. It's going to affect their outlook. Could cause them some issues with depression. There's a lot of things that come up with health issues. Just be sure you know what you're getting into before you do. As far as STDs, you need to decide whether or not you're going to put yourself at risk to be with that person. That's a personal call. Only you can make that. Just be aware of it. Poor hygiene. I don't think I need to get into this one too much. You don't have to date Mr. Clean necessarily, but you definitely want to consider somebody's hygiene. It's gonna be a major turnoff if they don't take care of their hygiene. Here's another big one. Kids. If they don't want kids and you do, or they want kids and you don't, that is a huge deal breaker. You have to figure out from the get-go. You have a real problem and straighten it out very soon. Don't waste your time. If somebody doesn't want to have kids, move on and find somebody that does. Especially you ladies, you have a significant limitation to your biological reproduction, right? I mean, you get into the mid-30s, it's going to be more and more difficult to have a baby. You're going to be putting yourself at risk and the child at risk, especially if you get up to 40. It's just really realistic, right? Guys could have kids in their 70s, for some guys. So, you have to understand, if you really want kids, don't be with somebody who doesn't want them, and don't try and change their mind on it, because that will be miserable. You don't want to force somebody to have a child with you if they don't want one. Think about what that would do for that child too, if they felt like their mom or their dad didn't really want them. Here's another big one. People don't think about this one too much, but where do you want to live? This can be a real deal breaker. Remember Kim Kardashian with marriage number 1 or marriage number 2? I don't know which one it was. I don't know. Who knows which one she's on these days? The one where the basketball player didn't want to live where she wanted to live. How did this conversation not come up? I know personally, I love where I live. If you want to know where that is, I live in Orlando, Florida. Beautiful. I love it. And I'm not moving away from here. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it. So if that is really important to the other person, it's going to be a deal breaker. Here's another big one. Religious beliefs. You have to accept what your partner's religious beliefs are. They have to accept what yours are. If you can't tolerate the differences in religions, it's not going to work out. And this also ties with the last one that I have, cultural beliefs. Sometimes you can't agree on how a kid will be raised culturally or religiously. And if it's too drastic of a difference between the cultures or the religions or whatever it is, it's probably not going to work out. It's probably going to lead to a lot of fights. And I had a friend that went through this. He was dating this girl, and he really loved her and cared about her, but they had major differences when it came to the religion and the culture. It kind of went hand in hand. He couldn't deal with it, especially on her thoughts about raising kids. And I don't remember the details, so I don't want to get into that, but she had completely different thoughts about how to raise kids, and he just felt very uncomfortable with it. He knew it wouldn't be right for him. So it was a big part in them splitting up and moving on. So, know what your deal breakers are. If you find them, it's better to move on sooner than later. Sometimes they can be negotiated, sometimes they can't. If you sit down and try and talk through it, and you can't come to an agreement, it's just best to move on so you can both have what you want in life. You only have one life, and you want to be able to live it the way that feels comfortable to you. Okay? So if you like this video, make sure you put a like on there. If you have your own deal breakers, share them in the comments below. I'd like to see what you guys have to say. I didn't get to obviously all of them. These were some of the ones that I thought were major. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post videos Monday through Friday. And when you want my help personally, you can go to my website, AskCraig.net, and sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I'm Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.